the great sixth patriarch of Zen, was about to leave his body. So he invited the monk who was to be his successor to come to him, so that the staff of the lineage could be passed to him. They were sitting across from each other with a lighted brazier between them, and the sixth patriarch took a volume, a book, and he said to the monk, "This book contains the stories of our lineage, the teachings of our lineage. It's passed to you with the staff to confer on you the office, the successorship." The monk said to the sixth patriarch, "But Master, in all of these years, nothing has been imparted. There have been no teachings here." And he threw the book on the brazier. It caught alight and very quickly became ashes. The sixth patriarch jumped up and said, "What are you doing?" And the monk replied, "What are you saying?" And then there was a king. He was fair, kind, ruled over his kingdom well. But he was about to die. So he called his 17-year-old son to him, the prince who was to become the king. And taking a package wrapped in green silk, he passed to his son a volume, a book, and he said, "My son, this contains the stories of all the kings who have come before me. Read it, study it well." And the king died, and the prince became a king. But there was his throne. There was the rituals that went with making him the king, which went on for days, weeks, even months. And then there was the coming of his bride, the wedding, again the festivities lasting, the preparations going on and on and on. So weeks and months passed by. And then there were the affairs of state. Always this one or that one, seeking his advice, his counsel. There was no time to read. Years later, suddenly, the prince who was now the king thought to himself, "Ah, the book." So he went to the secret drawer in which it had been placed, and he took out the green silk package and opened it up. But just as he was about to begin to read, his Grand Vizier came in and said, "Master, master, we have this visiting ambassador from..." And so the king said, "But I want to read." But then it was the queen who had to come in and show the jewelries, the jeweler that was there to help choose the jewels that were to be bought for a certain festival. But finally, the king said to everyone who came in with demands of his attention, "Go, I am going to read." He opened the volume, and the first sentence that he read was, "Those who have everything sometimes have nothing." And he read on. That evening, the king divested himself of his kingly robes, and putting on the garments of a simple peasant, he went to his queen, and he said, "My queen, I leave, and if I do not return, guide our son well, so that he may take over the throne." And he left the palace gates. Many, many years later, an old hermit came through the gates of the city, and the old hermit approached one of the inhabitants, and he said, "Tell me about your king." And the man said, "Oh, he's handsome, he's kind, he takes care of our kingdom so well." The old hermit said, "Please, would you do this for me?" And he took out of his simple bag a worn green silk package, and he handed it to the man with a few coins. "Please, would you take this to your king? I have kept it well for him all of these years." The villager, townsperson, took the passage as he was directed to do, and making his way and finding entry into the palace, he laid the package, wrapped in green silk, at the feet of the king. The old hermit caught the last donkey of a caravan that was leaving that city, and he was never seen again. How, in these two stories, do we find the answer to our enigma? There is no lineage, there is no teaching, there is no creed here, and yet we come together. Magic happens. How do we answer this question? How do these stories bring together for us beyond the beyond, beyond Satchitananda, beyond the mind's ability to be able to reconcile, and yet, we have no need to ask, why am I here? And yet, there is the question.